Okay, let us get back to our previous code where we were trying to integrate, these try catches and also this state machines along with your invoke workflow. So it was a kind of a mixture of all three concepts that we have seen earlier. So the only new thing that we were seeing was invoke workflow, whereas state flows and also this try catches, we have been handling them long since a while. But anyways, let's get started with that. So let me say main state machine. So this was our home or the static page from where we were invoking all other sequences or XAML files. So we had a small XAML file or small piece of code which would trigger your Amazon website, go and get price of a particular product, and then get the today's exchange rate, and then provide the final output in your final state. In your final state, you also have conditions where to check if the execution is proper and if it has run without any error. If in case if it has run with any error, then we say that this is the error. If it has not run into any error, we'll directly tell that its execution is successful, and we have this issues. We have the output as this thing, right? So if we go back into our Amazon site and Amazon XAML and see, so people were confused when I was trying to explain them how to use finally, right? So this finally, so just consider this finally as a block which would execute at the exit of your try catch. So even if it goes into your try, or even if there is an error and you go into catch, it doesn't matter. While moving out of your try catch, this finally is always executed. So this finally is a block that will be executed irrespective of any exception that might occur or might not occur. So consider things like that. That is the way that for such cases or such scenarios where you want things to be done irrespective of any occurrence of the exception or not, then you will have your such kind of piece of code you will have in your finally block. Similarly, you do the same thing for get exchange rate also. So when we get exchange rate, we are actually opening a browser. So we'll go to our finally. So here we are using this finally block to close our browser, right? So even if there is an error or if not, we do not want the code to leave back any residues. So that is why we'll be using this finally block in both of the XAML files to close the Internet Explorer browser or the browser, to make sure that we do not leave behind any residues or any previous execution postures. So we'll close this and let us try to run this now. So probably the homepage of your Amazon website has changed. That is why it possibly could be looking for some selector which is not available. So we have a message box that is coming in from your file exception, right? Oh no, this is coming from where? IEXplorer.amazon.com. Okay, we have been facing issues directly in your close application also. So probably this is because your browser or sorry, the selector for your acha, we have commented this out to cause an error, right? Forgot to enable this. So yes, probably this should be the problem. So now let us go and run. So it says today's price for Kindle Reader is so and so. So right. So this is how we have been doing things with using your try catches and your invoke workflows and our initially seen state machines. So any doubts on this before we move forward? If there are no doubts, then let's get ahead and see the next part of our UiPath, which is your image automation. Yes. Okay. So now let us close this and create a new sequence. Image automation demo. And now, when do we need this image automation, or what is this image automation? Right. So let us see a small example of that. Okay. So let me say, so we know this click event, right? So what would we do in case of a click event? You would use this selector, well, that is, you click on indicate on screen, and then you go to any specific field and then click on that, right? So let me say here I'm trying to click on this ad. Let me say not on this ad, that looks very viable, or it is changing very frequently. Or let us say something. Let me go back and look for something which your UiPath cannot pick from the screen. Okay, so let us consider we want to click on this Google logo, right? So for this, if you click on this, you would just get the selector. So I'll show you the difference between click image and just click activity. So here, if you see, the only thing that you look for is the title, which is your Google, and then your HP logo, and then that's a tag called image, right? So basically that is an image that you're trying to click. So the all this information that you're getting is from the selector. So now just consider you are not sure that the selector will remain same, and you cannot use this wildcard function, wildcard characters, or also these omit functions to select something. So let me say you have this Google page or Google home page, and you are not sure what the selector for this Google page is, and it is changing very dynamically that you cannot program it at all. So in such cases, what do we do? So in cases where you not being able to click or extract the selector from this image, you will use this click image. So what does this click image do? So let me comment this out. So you say on your, instead of in your, if it was a regular click, you would say indicate on screen, right? But here instead you have indicate image on screen. So when you click on this, the cursor changes its the form from a hand pointing to something like this, a red thing followed by rectangle. So here it does not highlight any element, just as you move it on the screen, just as how it usually does in case of your regular click, because this is not actually looking for a selector. Instead, what you are supposed to do is select a region. Let me say I select this Google region, which will appear always irrespective of the anything. So may probably the image, sorry, the selector might change dynamically. So I want to click on that specific Google icon irrespective of anything. So even the selector might change, might not change. The only thing that I will look for is actually this image. So here the link between your element to click and your click activity is not just the selector, it is your image also. So if you see, once you save this and you go back to your selector and see, so if you see, it says the HTML title is only Google, there is no more inference that it is requiring. So it is only looking for a web page which has the title as Google. So it is only looking for this tab which has the title as Google and nothing else. So where is it getting this rest of the information to click on? So this complete page has this Google information, this Google title. But where does it have to click? Does it have to click here, here, here? It could click anywhere. But instead, the other artifact that it looks for is the image. So whatever image that we have selected, that is this Google image, whatever we have drawn on the screen for this UiPath to pick up from. So that is what it will look for. So this is a combination of both the selector and the image. So if we try to run this, it will directly go and click on that image. So if you see, it has done that. Oh, how do we search for something of that sort? So I go to Google Translate and then click on Google. Yes, I go to homepage, right? Okay. So now if you see, I have modified only to click on this specific page, right? So now what will I do? I will make the robot to click here. So for that, what should I do? I should go grab from screen and then select the specific field, right? So now if my robot is going and clicking here, it will be redirected to the home page, right? So that is the proof that the robot has clicked there. So let us go and run this. So if you see, it has clicked directly on that and you're going back to your home page. So basically the only difference between just a click and a click image is that you can use this click image to select those activities or those elements on screen which you are not able to extract the selector. So there are many cases where you will not be able to extract selectors for many of the elements on screen, but their image remains constant. So that is the catch there. So you will have to make sure that your image is fixed. So any Google page that you go, your image is going to be just this thing. Then it's not going to change, right? So let me say here, if I go and search for something like Harry Potter, still my Google image is same. So this will not change at any cost. So if I have such kind of fields on my screen and I'm not able to extract the selector, in that case, click image or image automation is your next to go to choice. So I do not recommend go to image directly, even if you have fixed selectors. Selectors are the first go to points. Only in case if the selectors are not working, then you can go use this image automation to click on separate or special locations on the screen based on the image that you select, right? So now let us change this a bit. So I've omitted the one and only available field. So here if you see, you cannot omit that complete selector, because if you are omitting the selector, that is, if you are omitting the selector that is available here, then in this case, the only artifact that it has to click for is just the image. So if you see, image automation does not work just with the image. It cannot just go and click on this image because it is finding a match. It has to know where does this image has to appear. So to talk it on a high level sense, for image automation also, you would need exact selector or at least a high level selector to make sure where to check for that image, right? So in this case, what can we do? We can not just omit, instead modify the selector a bit. So let us go to our selectors, select this, and here the only thing that would change is the search keyword. So we were looking for this Google Translate, and that is why it is there. So now I replace that with a star, and it clicks properly, right? So now let me search for something else like say Dhoni, and then even now if I run, it would run for any case. So here we are combining or clubbing two different things. One is your selector modification, and the second one is using these images. Are people clear with this image thing? When to use this, and why are we going to images rather than just using our click? Okay. So if you see using these images, you can do a bunch of activities. So let us see all of them now. So just as you have your click, you have your double click also. So here also you just select your image. So let me say this is my image, and then it is going to do double click on that, right? And then hover image. What is this hover image? Are people aware of what exactly does a hover means? So let me say if I go and hover my image, my cursor on this MSN, it would change to refresh page, right? So if I'm on anywhere else, it is MSN, but I hover there, it changes to refresh page. So now placing my cursor there is going to give me a lot of other options. Like let me say I want to put my cursor on the Skype, and this would give me a bunch of options like this. So now in this case, I do not want my cursor to go and click. Instead, I just want it to go and hover there or just stand at that position. For that, you have this specific activity called hover. So here you use this hover image. So let me minimize this click. So here on this hover image, you just show this Microsoft Store, right? So you are giving this image, and depending on this image and also the selector, not just the image, it also looks for the selector that it has. So here, now when we run this, it would go and hover exactly on that Microsoft Store. Oh, we are not able to see what is happening once it is hovering there. Probably we'll have a wait or delay. For 30 seconds or 10 seconds should be enough, right? So we have a 10 seconds delay now. So now if you see my cursor is on the search bar. Okay, it should be actually on the Microsoft Store, but it is on holiday in Kenya. It has picked up some other uh, location to hover. So let us go back and change this thing. Okay, and get back to this. Okay, the title is proper. Fine. So now let us run this and see. Yes. So now it is exactly able to place the cursor wherever we are looking for, right? So this is how you will use this hover image, and we will also see other image type of automations that we have. So next is we have this image exists. So these are two things that we will mostly be using. So let me comment this also. Delete. And you have this find image matcher. Sorry, we are looking at this image exists. So what does this do? This will simply check for the image
if it is available on the screen or not. So let us take a simple image for now. So let me say I'm looking for this Microsoft Store, and then let me have a boolean here. We don't have it. Okay. If so, let's go back here and say image exists, or else image doesn't exist, right? So let us save this and now run. It is looking for the Microsoft Store. So it is able to find that image directly, and it says the image exists, right? So now let's pick up a little tougher image. So let me go here, say grab from screen, and then look for this giraffe is here. So right, so we have the giraffe, and we run. It says image exists, right? So basically this image exists will just tell me, so I will have to provide it an image, and once it has that image, it will go and look for that image. If it is available, then it would return a true value. If the image is not available, so let me say I close this ad. Okay, I'm closing this. Okay, so I have closed that ad, so now I do not have that image. So now if I run this, it will clearly tell me that the image is not existing. So it looks for the availability of that image across the screen, and then it will just give me a boolean, return a boolean telling true or false depending on the availability of the message of the image. So it says image doesn't exist, right? Okay, so these are pretty simple and straightforward, but will be of very useful in case where you're not able to extract the selectors. And then you have your wait image vanish. So what this does is, let me comment this also. Indicate an image on screen. Let me say, I take this Microsoft Store. Probably this is the best one because it is always there. And then let me come. Oh, so now let me save this and have a message box. Image is not present, right? So we have a small message box which says the image is not present, but this activity will execute only after this wait image vanish, right? So basically, what does this wait image vanish do? It would wait, it would hold the select processor to wait until that image is vanishing, and only then it will be allowing the processor to move forward. So we'll see that with an example. So you have this image here. So it would wait until that image is vanished, or if that until that image is not available anymore. Okay, so let us run this. So now if you see the robot is running, right? So this UI icon says your image, your robot is running. And now if you see, the robot will wait until this image vanishes. It would not go forward until this image is present or it is available for the robot. So the moment I close this, I do not have that image anymore. So if you see, now it tells image is not present. So it is not like it is you just look for that image for a period of time and then go forward. No, it will wait until this image is really vanishing from your screen. It would literally wait there for hours and days, or how much ever time you want, until that image vanishes. But what is the use or purpose of this? Where exactly will we be needing this? Any guesses that where we might be needing this wait image vanish in real time scenarios? Anywhere you think that you will have to wait until some image is vanishing and then we can go forward, or we have to wait until there is an image? So if you see many of these bank applications, especially, you do a transaction, they'll show you either a message of please wait or processing, where you are supposed to wait until that specific icon is vanished, right? So you will not have to do anything, you just have to wait. So in all those scenarios, this wait image vanish is something that will help you or will be used to make sure that your robot is waiting until that specific icon or that specific image of please wait or connecting is vanished. So that is the place where you will where this wait image vanish will be of much use. Is that clear? Okay, I hope that is clear. And then we have something similar to that thing, similar to our previous on image appear and on image vanish. So I'm looking for the same image again, which is Microsoft Store. And then I have a bunch of options to do, right? So maybe inside this, I'll just have a similar message box. Okay, the message box is below itself. Okay. So now if we run, it would look for that image. And once that it has found that image, it will execute all the activities that are present within that block. So now if you see, okay, do we have anything post this? No. Okay. So if you go and see for this properties, so you can have a bunch of, sorry, not on this thing, not on your message box, but instead you have to go and look for here. So if you go and see for this thing called on image appear, so what does this do? This keep check. Okay, isn't the robot stopped yet? Okay, let me stop. So if you see in the properties, you have something called repeat forever, right? So here, if you give this true in this case, it would keep checking for that image exists forever. It would never stop, in fact, right? So it is like now I have this thing set to true. So now let me keep that thing open. And now if I run this, you would see it keeps giving me that message again and again. So it says image is present, proceed with execution. Okay, and then it has a small piece of time delay. And then you will have another message box telling the same, that your image is present. Okay, we have a timeout there. So now what if we set this to false? So I just set this to false. So what will happen? So if I set this, on image appear or the repeat forever, property of this on image appear to false, what it does is it just checks only for once when this activity is executed. Once it is true, then it would go and execute this and then come out and continue with the execution. This would not stop the robot there forever, right? So technically, we would never be setting that to repeat forever to true because that is of no use and our robot would be stuck there without any further execution. So now if we run this here, we'll have this and then a robot is stopped. So the execution has moved forward. So that is why you will have to make sure that your execution, your repeat forever Boolean value or the argument is set to false, right? It is very similar to your on image appear. You have this on image vanish. Image is vanished. You can proceed with execution. All right. Control plus D. So let me say what am I looking for? Maybe I'm looking for this. This time let us take this OneDrive image, and I want my robot to proceed once I move or I do not find this image anymore. So let us consider this OneDrive image is something like processing, or please wait in your any bank application or some of those applications. So now our on image vanish. This would let us also set this true to false. All right, so this would only look for once. So now let me run this. So now if you see it has found this icon here, and now I'm closing. I have closed the browser. So I would not find that anymore and then tell me to proceed. It says the image is vanished. You can proceed with execution, right? So this is very similar to your on image up here. Okay. And then what more do we have? We will see these user events later because we have a separate session on that. And what else do we have? Okay, so any doubts so far with respect to this image automation? Are anyone present in the first place? Okay, so let's go ahead. What is the next thing to see? So we are done with your image automations. And then let us say, so okay, we have some 20 more minutes left. So let us go ahead and see with debugging. In the next class, we'll start with user events. So that will take a couple of classes to complete. So let's go ahead and see this debugging mode. So right, so till now we were seeing how do we go ahead with just executions. So just in case if you have any error anywhere, or you have written a big piece of code and you are facing trouble in the middle. So how do you debug your code, right? Why is debugging really important?
because you want to know how is the code flowing from different activities and into which flow is it going and where is it failing, right? So for that you have something called a debug mode in your UiPath. So for run, you click on this. For debug, you do this. And this validate is not really of much importance because it will not, anyways, it will not let you run if you have anything not set up properly, right? So let me go to my project and run any of the pre-defined invoke workflow example. Is that no? Let's go to our main state machine and start debugging this code. So right, so now I have such kind of four or so consider I have four or five such states, and I'm not knowing where is the current flow moving in a particular scenario. I want to know each and every step that is happening inside my code and to know where exactly is it moving to. Correct? So how do we do that? We do that using debug. So for debug, you have three options. One is your highlight elements, and the other one is your highlight activities. Other one is log activities. So let us see one of these each one by one. So let us select only highlight elements first, and then this slow step will execute the robot in a in kind of a slow motion. So consider this as a slow motion for your execution. So it moves step by step slowly with pause in between, right? So this will also help us. And now let us click on this debug. So if we just click on run, let us see the speed at which it executes, right? It is done. So now if we go back to our output and see, the complete execution is done in 18 seconds. Okay, so now let us go to debug and see, right? So now I have selected debug instead of my run. So it has opened the browser now. So if you see, before it does anything, it is highlighting things in red color, right? So before it is picked up that 149 that has been highlighted as red, and then the complete browser is selected before it is closed. And then if you see, the controllers come back to the state machine, main state machine, and then it is opened your get exchange rate XAML, and then the Google search bar is selected to type in some values, and your 68.61 is highlighted in red before that value is picked up. And then your entire browser is selected before it is closed. So this is your output. Now if you go back to your output and see, I hope the this is the execution has now it took nearly 1 minute 44 seconds. So but this is different, but what exactly was visible or helpful using this debug mode? Because we have told it to highlight elements, any activity it is trying to click or type in or select or extract text, anything, it would highlight those things in red color in the first place. So if you see in your Amazon, once you open your browser with google.com, you are clicking into this search bar, right, where you are going to type Amazon Kindle, and then you are going to extract the price value. So if you see, these two would be highlighted in red color. So I'll just run this once again in a debug mode. You can just pay attention to that. So once your browser is opened, it would go and select specially on that Google homepage. So yes, this Amazon search bar, if you see it is highlighted in red color. Now at that 149, it is highlighted in red before the value is extracted. So any activity or on-screen activity that is trying to do, it would highlight that. So that is how you will know where exactly is it trying to pick information from. So this debug mode will help you do the small visual things, which will make you understand where the control is going and what is it doing, at least for on-screen activities. So if you see it is selected on that 65.89 also, and then we close the browser. So this is one way where you can understand what exactly is happening for on-screen activities. So the other one is, so we have been using, this execution is not yet stopped. Okay. Yes, it is stopped now. So now in these options, we have only used this highlight elements. And why was the execution so slow? Because we have enabled this slow step. So once I click on this slow step and remove that, if you see even in debug mode, it is really fast. It is not really that slow. So this is without slow step. So the search bar is highlighted and now it's typing in. And now again that 149 would be highlighted. Yes, it's extracted. So the earlier execution was so slow, it was only because we have used that slow step. Okay, so this is without slow step. So now that we have seen highlight elements, so let us go and see what does this highlight activities do. So what exactly do you think would this highlight activities do? It would show or highlight each and every activity that it is clicking on or doing. Probably if we are, since we are using many of this on-screen elements like your browsers, this would not be visible, but instead I hope it should be visible at least to a small extent. So pay attention to the starting and ending of this process, because only in the beginning we have a few of these activities without on-screen events. Okay, so let us run this. So now I've used a debug mode. So it enters into state machine, and then it went into first state and now into Amazon. Now it is an open browser, and then it is going into type into. And now if you see, it is in close application, and then the flow would go back. It is going to try catch and then back, and it would go into main state machine, and it has entered into get exchange rate. Probably not yet. Yes, now it is into get exchange rate, and then into try catch, and then your sequence, and now open browser. So now this is the type into, and then get text, and then close browser. Okay, and now it will go back to your state machine. And now post this will go into final state. You go into if, and now the execution is into your true block. Yes, now it's going to back, and then sequence, and then your complete state machine, and the execution is stopped. Right? Or let us see a small sequence which will give you even more better insight of this. Let us use a sequence and say um, highlight activities underscore demo. Okay, so let me use a sequence,
say use an assign, couple of assigns, then use if, then a message box. This is just that I'm using only on-screen events so that it will be easy to understand how exactly does this work. And then use a message box simply. A is an integer, B is an integer, C is string, and D is also string. Okay, right? So now let me assign A to 0, B to 100, A into B equals 0, A or sorry, or B is 0. Now then are 0, right? And now here let me say C is something like, say UiPath, and then you say D is demo. Let me know this display C plus D, right? So we have some small sequence with like 10 or 7, 8 activities. So you have an assign A, B, and then you have a small multiplication value A into B, and then you have an if else condition, and then C, D, and then you are displaying them back, right? So now if you just click on, sorry, if you just run this, you would just have a single message box. That's it. But if you run the same thing using your highlight activities, slow step and debug, you would be able to see each and every activity getting executed. Okay. Am I not using highlight activities? Okay. What's happening? Okay, I'm using highlight activities, stop, and then debug. Okay, let us debug first. Wow. Didn't we see? Okay, highlight activities, slow step, then debug. So now if you see it is come into sequence. Oh, some problem with your UiPath probably. It is not showing individual activities at all. But I'll have to restart maybe. But I hope things are clear, right? How do we use this highlight activities to know which activity is exactly actually executing at each point of or instant of time? Let me go back to my activities demo. Execute. Okay, highlight activities, slow step, then debug. So your highlight activities sequence and then now assign.
and then your second assign, and then you go to your if, and it goes into your message box, which is true, and then comes back to your if, goes to your next state, assigns to value d, and now it displays c plus d. Okay, and then it goes back to your actual sequence and your actual output path. Right, I hope this was a clear demo of how exactly each and every activity is executed. And if even if you want to have a log of all that, or which activity has executed at each stage, you can use this log activities. So what will happen when I use this log activities? I'll eliminate this step also. And now let me just assign some. Okay, I'll just, okay, I just, okay, for now let us debug this directly. Okay, okay, now what is happening? If you go to your output and see, it has logs for each and every activity that it has executed. So the first thing, whatever it has executed is, so the first, one second, pull this up. Okay, so the first thing that it has executed is demo execution. That is your project. Is that right? Yes, that is your demo. That is your project. And now, once your demo execution has started, next it has directly entered into highlight activities demo executing. So this is your highlight activities demo, right? Once you have that, you enter into your sequence execution. That is this. And then you have your first assign, that is your this assign, and then your assign is closed, and then you have your next assign. So if you see here, you have your second assign, and then assign execution closed, and then you have your if executing, that is this if, and then you have your direct message box, because this if is a true condition, you have your message box, and then post that you have your message box closed, and then your if is also closed. So your control goes back from your message box to your earlier if. So this if is closed, and then you have another message box, sorry, assign, that's executing and closed, executing and closed. So this way you will have each and every activities log recorded here. How will this help, or why is this useful? So let me say, so what we usually do is we would assign, we would give names to each of these if we are doing a really big project. Assign 0 to A, convert to int, and assign probably this. So what do? We say convert dot to int 32 of some value. So if I give 100, it will work. So let me say 100 s, it will not work, right? So now when I debug this, okay, we don't have an error there. Okay, let us try to convert something which cannot be converted to integer. Okay, so now debug this. Okay, so now if you go to your output and see, it will very clearly tell you where exactly that error has occurred. So it will tell you assign 0 to executing, execute 0 to executing, that is assign 0 to this one, sorry, and then that assign is closed, and then you have this very clear message which tells convert to int and assign faulted. So that is the specific activity. It says convert to int and assign is faulted. So this way you will be able to identify where exactly is your code failing, or which specific activity is it failing. So this is why we use this debug mode with log enabled, in case if we have really big projects and not sure where exactly is our code failing. Okay, is that helpful? Any doubts? Probably we are moving towards the end of this class. Okay, I hope it's clear and there are no doubts.